Hello and welcome to Arkham Asylum. This video is going to be a bit different from the ones that I usually make, as I'm not using a script. I just saw, well not just, it has been several hours ago, but I did recently see the Suicide Squad movie, so this is kind of an immediate reactions, although I have been able to collect my thoughts on the movie somewhat. There's kind of a buzz going on the internet, how the movie is terrible and the DC cinematic universe is totally screwed. A majority of the professional critics have given the movie a pretty bad review. They're basically saying it's almost as bad as Batman vs Superman, although a little bit better. However, I personally did not hate Batman vs Superman. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I mean, it has its flaws, definitely, but overall it's a very entertaining movie. So I'm not one of the Batman vs Superman haters. But now we're seeing the same thing with Suicide Squad. The critics are bashing it, fans are bashing it who haven't even seen the movie yet, seeing that everywhere. But is the movie as terrible as people are saying? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So here we go. Okay, so one of the main criticisms that the movie is getting from the critics is that the plot is very thin. Well, it kind of is. That's true actually, the plot is kind of thin. Just to explain what the movie is about. Essentially, Amanda Waller wants to gather a team of supervillains and evil metahumans and use these as a strike force against these new threats that are rising in the world ever since Superman appeared. People are worried. What are we gonna do? We have no control over these powerful beings. So basically what Amanda Waller wants to do is have some of these powerful beings on her side. So we see the creation of Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, and then a big threat appears and the Suicide Squad goes to fight it. That's basically the plot. That's what happens in the movie. So yes, it is pretty thin. There's not much going on there plot-wise. However, the characters in the movie are very interesting and very fun, and that's where all the good stuff is. So, let's talk about each character individually. First up, the members of the Suicide Squad, and we'll begin with Deadshot. Deadshot is kind of the main character, I guess, the leading man, I guess you could say. If the movie has a leading man, I guess that would be Deadshot. I was very skeptical about Will Smith ever since he was announced to play the role. I mean, he usually just plays himself. And then I saw the trailers and, that kind of confirmed what I thought. It just seemed like Will Smith in the trailers. The Fresh Prince dressed as Deadshot. That was basically what it seemed to be. And yeah, it kind of is in the movie. That's kind of what it is. He's, doing his regular routine. He's being Will Smith. But it also kind of works. It's not really Deadshot from the comics, yes. In the comics, he's more of a stoic guy. He doesn't really talk a lot. He's a quiet brooder. And in the movie, he's more talkative. He talks a lot. He's a wisecracker, but he's also a brooder at the same time. He's a tragic character. He's very sympathetic. In the comics, Deadshot is also quite sympathetic, but I'd say he's almost more sympathetic in the movie. He's not really a villain. He's almost portrayed more as an anti-hero, really, more than anything. He's quite entertaining to watch. I guess I was a bit pleasantly surprised by Will Smith. I did not have high hopes for that character in this movie, but it turned out to be better than I thought. Yes, it's not quite accurate to the comics, but it's still a good character, an interesting character, definitely. And I would say it is by far the best live-action Deadshot we've ever had, really. Although there's not much competition, the other Deadshots aren't really all that good. I mean, remember the Deadshot early on in Arrow? He was just a guy with a thing over his eye who sprayed bullets all over the place. So much for the assassin who never misses. And that's one thing that Suicide Squad does very well, portraying the prowess of Deadshot. He's definitely the assassin who never misses. He has some serious skills in this movie, and they're perfectly showed off. When it comes to his skill with a gun or a rifle, this really is Deadshot. Now on to the next one, Harley Quinn. If Deadshot is the main male character, Harley Quinn is the main female character. She's the leading lady of the movie. And I'd also say that she's probably the best part of the movie. Yeah, I'd say she is. Margot Robbie is really good as Harley Quinn. I mean, she really is Harley Quinn. She's very much like the Harley Quinn from the animated series, although not as ditzy and innocently naive as she is on that show, but still, she's definitely got that animated series vibe going on. She is more competent and a lot more crazy, definitely. But she's more of the animated series than she is, say, the Arkham games or whatever, where she's more sadistic and evil. Harley is definitely a sympathetic character also, just like Deadshot. She's really an anti-hero herself too, although really all the members of the Suicide Squad are portrayed as anti-villains in this movie, as we see the movie through their eyes. But she does heroic things in the movie, I'll just leave it at that. If it weren't for Harley Quinn, this movie would not have been... It would have been a lesser movie. She's kind of the movie would have been less energetic and balls to the walls crazy without her, definitely. She kind of makes the movie. And, I've gotta give serious props to Margot Robbie for really nailing the role. She does a great job. And then on to, who shall we pick? Captain Boomerang. One of the few squad members who's not a Batman villain. Captain Boomerang is just delightful. I really like this Captain Boomerang. This really is Captain Boomerang from the comics. Just everything in the movie, it's just so Captain Boomerang, Jay Courtney does a great job, and the character is written very well. We don't really explore Captain Boomerang like we do Harley and Deadshot. They get explored in the movie. But Captain Boomerang, he's more like a, sidekick, I guess you could say. He's there, and he does a lot of action-y things. He has a lot of funny lines, but he's not really explored as a character. He's there to be entertaining, mostly. They do a really good job with that. He's actually one of my favorite characters in the movie. After Harley Quinn, I'd say he's the one I like the best. So, Killer Croc. I've gotta say I'm a bit disappointed with Killer Croc. It's not that he's portrayed badly in any way, he just doesn't get that much to do. His role is even smaller than Boomerang's. He's mostly just there in the background, and he does some cool action stuff. He growls and he has a few lines here and there. He doesn't speak too much, but that suits the character anyway. But we never explore him at all. We don't get to see the tragic aspect of the character at all. He's just basically a cool crocodile monster dude who's very strong and can kick a lot of ass. That's basically what Killer Croc is in this movie. I do hope that we do get more movies in this universe so that we can explore Killer Croc. I really want to see him in a Batman movie, of course, and see him go up against Batman. That would be great. Of course, another Suicide Squad movie, see him there. Maybe he could be more explored there. That would be great. So there's not really a lot to say about Croc, because there's not much to him in the movie. Again, he's not bad. They just don't do much with him, but that can be fixed in a sequel or a Batman movie. And of course, the actor whose name I forget at the moment does a great job. And the makeup is really good. I really like the makeup. It reminds me of the classic Croc from the 80s. The original Killer Croc arc in the early 80s. He kind of looked like he does in the movie. He's not a huge hulking dinosaur like he is in many other things nowadays. He's kind of got the classic look going on for him, which I like. Okay, and then we have El Diablo. I did not know much about El Diablo. In fact, I knew nothing about El Diablo before seeing this movie. I don't even know which comic he's from. But what I saw in this movie, it was good. He was an interesting character. He got explored too. He got an arc. And he got some really awesome things to do. He was a really cool character actually, and a very sympathetic character. And he's also definitely the most powerful member of the squad, which comes in handy in the finale. I won't say what happens, of course. The name of that actor, I've forgotten his name too. He does a really good job. And the way his firepower is created with the special effects or CGI or whatever, it looks good. It looks very good. He does a few creative things with his fire effects. And then finally Slipknot. I think I hope I didn't forget someone here. Slipknot. Yeah. Poor Slipknot. The less you say about him, the better. You'll just have to see in the movie. And on to the military people, whatever you want to call them, the people who's leading the squad. Amanda Waller, who is responsible for the creation of the squad. And I've forgotten her name too. I'm sorry, but I forget a lot, apparently. I don't remember what the actress is called who plays... Oh yes, Viola Davis, right. That's her name, Viola Davis. She does a very good job at portraying Amanda Waller. However, I have to say, Amanda Waller is a bit of a disappointment. It's never really made clear why she wants to protect America against these new threats, these metahumans and all that. It's never really explained. I mean, in the movie, she's a pretty evil person. She's not really sympathetic. She's definitely an antagonist in the movie. So I don't know if she would really care about protecting the security and people, protecting people. I don't know if she would care about that, because she's portrayed as quite an evil character. So what's really going on there? What's her agenda? I don't really know. As far as I can recall, they never really say what she's really planning or what she's really doing, with the creation of Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad. So that's a bit of a bummer, but she is still a fun character to watch, and the actress is good in the role. She has some cool scenes, but I would have liked to have her motivations explained more. Perhaps that will be done in a sequel, but really that's no excuse. It should have been done in this movie. So yeah. And then Rick Flagg, played by Kinnaman. Rick Flagg actually has a larger role in the movie than I thought he would have. Seeing the trailers, he doesn't look like he has a big role. He's not really in the trailers all that much, or in the advertising. So I thought that his role was going to be pretty small, but it's not. I'd say his role is almost as big as Deadshot and Harley Quinn. If you're gonna say that this movie has 3 main characters, then those main characters are Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Rick Flagg. And Rick Flagg is the team leader of the Suicide Squad. He's the field commander. He's a military man. I forget his rank. But he leads the squad in combat on their missions, but he's not a criminal himself. And he's basically the straight man of the group. The normal guy. And that's what he is in the comics. He's the straight man among all these colorful lunatics and crazy supervillains. He's the no-nonsense military man. And that's what he is in the movie. So, they did a good job in adapting the character. He's also got a love story going on with June Moon, the alter ego of the Enchantress, who's the main villain in the movie, and I'll get to that in a moment. So there's some stuff going on there with those 2 characters. And finally, the last authority figure of the squad, Katana. Now, Katana is Rick Flagg's bodyguard. She's assigned to cover his back and sort of help him keep the squad members in check. That's her purpose, being in the Suicide Squad, but it's kind of pointless. Really, her entire character in the movie could have been removed and the movie would have been exactly the same. She really is completely unnecessary and adds nothing to the movie or the plot or anything. She's, I don't know, they just put her in there to add another cool character, I guess. And don't get me wrong, she's cool. She's very awesome, actually. I like how she's portrayed, and the actress, again, who I don't remember the name of, does a really good job. And I like the costume a lot. The mask and everything, yes, it's maybe a bit over the top with the Japanese flag on the mask and everything. And I don't know, but I still like it. It looks kind of cool. And I like how she was portrayed in the movie. She's quite a badass. Quite a badass indeed. But, like I said, kind of pointless. She doesn't do much. She's not in the movie very much. She doesn't have much screen time. And she doesn't do much of bodyguarding Rick Flag. She doesn't really... I don't know, he seems to be fine on his own, and other people are helping him. She's mostly just there and fights among the other squad members. She doesn't really function as a bodyguard as she's supposed to. She's just another warrior in the team. So that was a disappointment, seeing that they didn't do much with her at all. They also talk about her sword, the Soul Taker, but we never actually see her use it. I mean, yes, she uses it in combat. She kills people or things with it, but we never see the sword absorb a soul. We never see that. They talk about it. They mention it a couple of times that the sword does that, but we never actually see it. That was a shame. I do hope that if we do get a Suicide Squad 2, that she is explored more in that movie and has a much larger role. Or she can appear in another DC movie. I don't know. I don't care. I just want to see more of Katana. I liked the way she was portrayed, but she just did not have anything to do in the movie. She was just useless. So I want to see her in a bigger role in another movie. I really want to see that. And now for the villain of the movie, the Enchantress. Yes, the Enchantress is the main villain in the movie. And yes, at first she is a member of the Suicide Squad, but she turns rogue. That's essentially what happens early on in the movie, so I don't think that's a spoiler. And that's the mission that the Suicide Squad gets. Go and capture the Enchantress and her brother. Yes, she has a brother who's also a... Well, I don't really know what they are. They're what? What are they? Demons, I guess, entities. They're supernatural entities. They're brother and sister. And together they're going to destroy the world. I don't know. They want to rule the world, something. You know, the regular villain plot. It's a bit boring and cliche, to be honest. I've seen critics say that the villain is a letdown, and yeah, I sort of agree, but still not quite. It's not a terrible villain by any means. The Enchantress, especially, is quite fun to watch. The actress, what's her name? Clara? Something... I don't know. But the actress does a pretty good job. And Enchantress is characterized pretty well as well, but I don't think she's as good as she is in the comics. In the comics, she's way crazier and more manic. I really like the Enchantress in the comics, and then later on in the comics, she became more of an anti-hero, and quite a badass anti-hero, really. And we don't really get that here. She's more of just an evil entity who wants to rule the world and make humans worship her. That's really all. And then her alter ego, June Moon, whom she shares a body with, is an innocent young woman who has fallen in love with Rick Flagg, and he's fallen in love with her. We don't really see too much of June Moon, though. I definitely want to see more of her in a future movie, explore her more. I think there's more things that could be done with June Moon. I'm sorry if I'm rambling on a bit here, but that's how it goes when you don't have a script. Yeah, the villain is okay, nothing spectacular. It's not worse than a lot of other villains, but it's not amazing. It's okay. It's an okay, decent villain. I don't really agree when I've seen people say, critics say that the stakes don't feel all that high in the movie. I don't really agree with that. Yes, okay, it's not Avengers high stakes. It's not that. It doesn't feel like that. But it's still, I mean, she is a very powerful demon, entity, witch, whatever you wanna call it. They do call her a witch in the They do call her a witch in the movie, and she's usually referred to as a witch in the comics, so I guess that's what she is, a witch. She is very powerful, and she's threatening to take over the world, so, you know, the stakes, they're there, and they're kind of high. So I don't really see that problem as much. I also like the goons that the Enchantress and her brother use. They are these creatures, monsters types. They turn people into these monsters that serve them, and they've got a pretty cool design. They kind of look like something out of Silent Hill or something. They've got a kind of a horror monster design to them. They're quite cool, actually. I did like that. They are a bit different from the usual, thugs and minions that we see in superhero movies. So that was nice, and it was really fun to see the squad fight these creatures, which we see a lot in the movie, because those creatures are kind of the main enemy that the squad fights the most throughout the movie. And now, finally, what you've all been waiting for, of course, the Joker. And I'm doing the Joker last because he's not a member of the squad. He's now obviously not an authority figure. And he's not the villain in the movie either. He's not really an antagonist. I'm not really sure how to describe his role in the movie without spoiling too much. But his part in the movie is associated with Harley Quinn. That's the reason he's in the movie, because Harley Quinn is, and she's a member of the squad. That's why he's there. It's connected to that. And so everybody's probably wondering, what was the Joker like in the movie? Did he stink? Was he great? I, at first, did not like what we were seeing with the Joker, from this movie. When I'm talking about the picture that was released, the first picture of Jared Leto as the Joker, that picture where he's screaming or laughing, whatever, where he looks maniacal. I was not impressed by that picture, and the whole tattoos thing and the bling on the teeth, I did not really get what they were doing there. And then we saw the trailers, and I just thought that he seemed like he was doing a Heath Ledger impersonation. Yeah, that's what it came off as, and I did not. It just did not seem good. He looked terrible. I thought I didn't understand what they were going for with the aesthetic, and he just seemed to mimic a past movie adaptation of the Joker, which of course is something that you should never do as an actor. So, but is that really how it is in the movie? No. Jared Leto's Joker is nothing like Heath Ledger's Joker. He's nothing like any other Joker we've ever seen, actually. In Batman 89, we basically got the traditional classic Joker from the comics, and then in The Dark Knight, we got a very different Joker, a more grungy, nihilistic, a terrorist Joker. very different take on him, more realistic and more depressing, I'd say. And this is, well, as a character, the Joker is, and now his aesthetic finally makes sense to me. He's really a gangster. That's what he is in the movie. He's not really a full-on supervillain, nor is he a terrorist. He's a gangster, an eccentric and completely insane gangster, yes. He's not a run-of-the-mill mob guy or anything like that. No, he's a completely deranged, mad, crazy gangster. He kind of reminds me a bit of Tommy Udo from the Kiss of Death movie, or maybe it's an old gangster movie from the 40s. There's a maniacal gangster in that movie. If you haven't seen that movie, you should. It's great. The Joker in this movie is a bit like Tommy Udo in that movie, although way crazier. It's like Tommy Udo on crack, really. And of course more of a contemporary gangster and not the old classic, 40s film noir gangster. That's basically the Joker. And also, why this Joker is completely different from any other Joker we've ever seen is the fact that he's not, yes, he's evil, he's deranged, he's scary, he's very menacing, and he obviously is not a nice guy. Clearly, he's a guy you don't want to mess with, but he's not completely heartless. In the movie, this Joker actually genuinely loves Harley Quinn. Yes, that's right. He genuinely cares for and loves Harley Quinn just as much as she loves him. And that's very different than what we've ever seen before, because traditionally Joker, he doesn't really care at all about Harley. He's just using her. Already, even in the animated series, where their whole relationship began, that's how it was. He was just using her. And that's how it's always been since then, but not in this movie. Joker actually genuinely loves Harley Quinn, and they're basically a, sort of a Bonnie and Clyde. That's really what they are. A completely insane Bonnie and Clyde couple, of course. But that's kind of what it is, and I really like that. I was very skeptical about the Joker in this movie, but I went in with an open mind. I did not go like, I'm not gonna like this Joker. I like the Jack Nicholson and the Heath Ledger versions, and this one seems too weird and not like the Joker is supposed to be. I did not have that mindset. Initially I had that mindset, but going into the theater I did not have that mindset. I had an open mind. I was open to something different, and that's what I got, and I liked it. It's a very interesting Joker. I definitely want to see more of this Joker. And speaking of that, Joker does not have a giant role in the movie. He does have a larger role than I thought he would have after reading reviews. In those reviews, it kind of came off as Joker having almost just a cameo. But that's not the case at all. He does appear several times in the movie. But he's not a main character, and he's not the main villain, as a lot of people thought before. So to sum up, Joker and Harley Quinn are great in this movie. They are the best part in the movie, and I definitely want to see more of them. Margot Robbie and Jared Leto did great jobs in their roles. Harley Quinn is basically perfect. She's just the way she's supposed to be. And Joker is different. It's a different take on the Joker, but still a very good one, a very fascinating Joker. I just dying to know more about this Joker. I want to see his relation to Batman. What's that like? Because his relationship with Harley Quinn is so different. Then what's his relationship with Batman? What's that gonna be? I really want to see that. And the final character I'm gonna mention is obviously Batman. Yes, his role is very small. It's just a cameo. He does appear more than once though, but it's only in flashbacks, and what we see is good. I like it. There's not much to say about it. We basically see him through the eyes of the criminals, the villains. We don't see his scenes through his eyes. We're seeing Batman the way the villains see him, and that was pretty cool to see. It's not much, but what we do see is nice. And if Batman vs Superman made me want to see more of Batfleck, then Suicide Squad just makes me want to see even more of him. I really want to see more of Batfleck, and luckily we're going to get that next year in Justice League. So the characters, most of the characters are very good. None of the characters are really outright bad. Amanda Waller definitely needs to have her motivations better explained. And then there's a few characters who just need more screen time, like Katana, definitely Killer Croc. But other than that, the characters are pretty great. And that's what makes this movie. Like I said early on, the plot is pretty thin. There's not really much going on there. It's essentially just an action story. And what makes the movie interesting is the characters, their interactions with each other. That's what I enjoyed the most. If you don't really like these characters already, I don't know, maybe you won't like the movie all that much. Maybe that's why people or critics aren't liking it. And we'll see what the general public says. You know, if people aren't liking the movie, then maybe it could be because they just don't really care about the characters. I don't know. Because if you care about these characters, if you're a fan of Harley Quinn and Deadshot and the Joker and Captain Boomerang, then I just can't see how you won't enjoy this movie. Seeing all these characters in live action together, interacting with each other, throwing quips at each other, fighting together, it's just really entertaining. And that's where the movie gets its strength. And if you just want an action movie, then this movie is pretty good too. It's pretty satisfying, although I do have to say that once the action starts, basically the first part of the movie is a build-up. We're introduced to all the characters, and then shit hits the fan. The Enchantress is doing crazy stuff, and the Suicide Squad is sent out to defeat her, and the action basically starts and then never really ends. It just keeps going. And, after a while it does get it does feel a bit dragged out and a bit too much, and you kind of wish that there was more of a plot there towards the end of the movie, but yeah, like I said, story-wise, it is flawed, definitely. It's not a terrible story. It's pretty simple, straightforward. But the characters, they're the ones that makes the movie worthwhile, in my opinion. And it is very fascinating to see a so-called superhero movie from the point of view of the supervillains. That's unique, isn't it? We don't really have any movies like that, do we? Not in the big DC and Marvel movies anyway. We don't really have a movie that's about the villains. So it is pretty unique. And the movie does explore what makes a villain. It's not completely empty. It does explore what a villain really is. Who's considered a villain, but who truly is a villain. Does go into that stuff, definitely. And by the end of the movie, we definitely have gotten a different perspective on these villains, the Suicide Squad members. They're not the pure evil villains that we might have thought them to be before. So, like the title asks, does the Suicide Squad movie suck? No, not in my opinion. This movie does not suck. A lot of people are saying that it sucks. I'm seeing a lot of fans on the internet saying that the movie sucks, although most of them haven't even seen it yet. And the critics are saying that it's pretty terrible, or well, maybe not terrible, but it's not a big... It's quite bad. That's what they're saying, and that's not what I'm saying. I don't think this movie is bad. It could have been better, yes. It could have had a deeper plot, a thicker plot, something more going on there. And we could have gotten a bit more explanation behind some of the characters' motivations. And we could have had some of the characters more explored. But overall, the characters, most of the characters are portrayed very well, very entertaining, and the movie overall itself is very entertaining. So I don't think this is a failure of a movie, but we'll of course see what other people think and how much it does at the box office. If you're a Batman vs Superman hater, then I can reassure you that this movie doesn't have any so-called silly moments like that movie has, like the whole Martha thing. It doesn't have anything like that. Nothing what people have come to consider as really stupid things. There aren't any things like that in this movie, no. I'm seeing a lot of gloom and doom on the internet. People are just in panic. People are just, saying that this is the end of the DC universe in film, the DC cinematic universe. This is the end. This is the nail in the coffin. Let's just get this over with. Let's just release Wonder Woman and Justice League next year and then just call it quits and just reboot the whole damn thing. I've seen a lot of people say that, and I don't agree at all with that. That would be a terrible idea to me, to reboot it again. No, there's been way too many reboots in the superhero film genre, way too many. We don't need a reboot. There's definitely stuff here. We've got a lot of meat to work with. Maybe these movies aren't as great as people wanted them, as a lot of people wanted them to be. These movies we've had so far, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and now Suicide Squad. Maybe people are disappointed in them, but they're not. I mean, there are good parts. I mean, there's good stuff in them. There's stuff to salvage, even to you who totally hate these movies. I mean, like I said, I like these movies. I don't think that they are amazing, but I do like them. But even if you do hate them, you have to admit that there's some stuff here. Some pretty awesome stuff here. I mean, who doesn't want to see Batfleck? More of Batfleck. And now, with Suicide Squad, you're gonna want to see more of these characters. Harley Quinn, the Joker, Captain Boomerang, Killer Croc, Katana. There are great characters here. And, well, what Warner Brothers should be focusing on doing is, for their future films, write better movies with better plots. But continue using these characters that they have, that they've already introduced. Most of them are good. Not all of them, but most of them are good in my opinion. Use them in better movies, and I think we're fine. We don't have to give up right away. I don't like this negative attitude that a lot of people have. I mean, do you seriously think that a reboot would be a smart idea? Do you think that people would go and watch a rebooted what? What are you gonna start with? Another Superman origin story? Another Batman origin story? Or what? Do you think anybody's gonna be really interested in that? No, I don't think people want another reboot. That's not what we need now. We need to continue on this, do some changes. Warner Brothers needs to change, but they don't need to kill this project. They need to do some changes, make it better, but continue with the good that they have. Continue with that. I mean, I am so stoked for the Batfleck solo movie, especially after hearing the rumors that it's gonna take place in Arkham Asylum and gonna feature a lot of villains. Of course, that's just a rumor so far. It hasn't been confirmed. Maybe that's not what the movie's going to be about, but if it is, then that's going to be pretty damn awesome. I really want to see more of these Batman villains that we've introduced in Suicide Squad, and I definitely want to see the other villains. Two-Face, the Penguin, Riddler, Scarecrow. I want to see them. What are they like in this universe? What are they like in the Batfleck universe? I'm just dying to see that. So, finally, to sum up, Suicide Squad does not suck, in my opinion. It's a pretty neat movie. The plot is thin, yes. There are some issues in the movie, but there are some great characters in the movie, and it's a very entertaining, crazy, balls to the wall, batshit movie. It's kind of out there, and quite a special movie, because we've never had a superhero movie that has villains, super villains as protagonists. That's something new. So, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.